Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of the Online Marketing Podcast. I am your host, Chad Lyons. Now, I apologize if it sounds like I'm a bit stuffed up. I'm actually catching a cold, and it seems like I was just sick too. Back in episodes 3 through 5, I think it was. I was a bit under the weather. I guess that's what I get for starting the season during the fall. The weather's changing, and in fact, I'm in Salt Lake City, and we really don't have much of a fall season here. It seems like it's summer until about halfway through September, and then from the first week of October, it's winter. So by now, it's cold and rainy, and it's already snowing sporadically in the valley. But let's go ahead and get started. As we're wrapping up this first season of the MSP Online Marketing Podcast, I wanted to address something. I wanted to talk about why we're doing this. When I first considered launching a podcast, I thought of it as a marketing tool. It was something that I could do to build awareness about Epaulette's brand and hopefully draw in business. And that seemed good, but it didn't really speak to me. If I was going to invest time and effort into writing these scripts and recording, editing, remixing, and publishing the audio, well, I didn't want it to be all about Epaulette. This is not a sales podcast. I'm not doing this to grow my business. It may grow as a result, and that'd be nice. I wouldn't turn that down, but that's not really the point. The purpose of this podcast is to share what I've learned with you. The MSP Online Marketing Podcast is unique because it's not a discussion of current events. It's not an overcomplicated sales pitch. It's not my philosophical musings. It's about you. And the purpose is to teach you this method of adding value to your business, and through that mechanism to enrich your life. And what I get is the selfish gratification that I've done something for someone else. And I sincerely hope that this does do something for you. I want you to listen to this podcast, and after you've listened, I want you to take action. Put what you've learned into practice and then benefit from that. If you need help, then Epaulette is here and will always be here to help you succeed. But if you don't need help, you'll still succeed. And it's your success that we're chasing. That's actually what Epaulette really is. It's a resource for business success. And sometimes businesses need our expertise, our time, our effort, and we charge very reasonable prices for those things, and we're well worth it. But if you're just starting out and you just need help getting started, Epaulette is here for you too. Not behind a paywall, membership, or subscription. We're here for you here. Now, this episode is going to be pretty short. And if you've listened to each of these 10 episodes in season 1, then some of this is going to be review. Because so far in this season, we've talked about what SEO is and how you can get more clients online using it, how to improve your ranking by creating content that Google loves, how to get in front of your ideal customers with local search, how to be found organically by optimizing your online citations, how to build trust with your audience by achieving a 5-star reputation, and how to start your SEO journey strong by optimizing your website. We've also talked about how important it is to know the essentials and when you should break the rules. We've talked about copywriting and the differences between direct response and content writing. And finally, we've talked about how to increase your revenue using customer feedback. Now, all of the things that we've talked about this season, they fall under a larger heading, and that heading is marketing. And before closing the season out, I wanted to drop my 2 cents on marketing. I'm in a position to see and recognize a lot of what I'll call cheesy examples of marketing. And you've undoubtedly seen a lot of this yourself. A popular one right now is LinkedIn. People on LinkedIn pretend to be interested in your business, or maybe they're talking about some sort of partnership, when in reality, it's just a thinly veiled sales pitch. That's all done in bad faith, and it's very annoying. I've seen people post in Facebook groups asking for help or recommendations for the best roofing company, for example. And then when they're put in touch with that person, the whole thing flips, and really, they just want to make a quick sales pitch. In fact, I had an experience very similar to that. We had someone reach out to us here at Epaulette, and they wanted to talk about rebuilding their website. Now, that's a fairly common request. And so, of course, I agreed to meet this individual in person to go over their needs. But little did I know, So I showed up at the meeting place and the other person was 15 minutes late for the meeting. I mean, sometimes that happens, so it's not that big of a deal. But I was on a schedule, so it reduced our time a little bit. But once he showed up, I began asking the preliminary questions that I do preparing for a project like that. But then he cut me off and went into full sales pitch about his employee time tracking app that he developed. I was caught off guard, and it was a fairly uncomfortable situation. And like I said, he got there 15 minutes late. Then he rattled on about his software that he was selling. Then he looked at his watch, begged my pardon, and then left 10 minutes early. In retrospect, I should be grateful that that meeting wasn't any longer than that. I was so confused by the whole thing, though, that I immediately went back to my office and I reviewed those messages that we'd sent back and forth just to make sure that I hadn't misunderstood the purpose of the meeting. Nope. He'd arranged the meeting under the guise of wanting to redesign this website. But of course, he had no intention of doing that whatsoever. I'm sure you've had similar experiences. It's not good, and it doesn't exactly endear you to the company or the product. So don't do that. And so there's this trend of clumsy and aggressive so-called marketing. Part of that is the fault of people like me, other marketers. We sometimes make it seem as though marketing is a skill that can be developed rather quickly instead of a profession. We make courses that are high level and either too theory focused, or they rely on one size fits all tips and tricks that really don't work well for most people. That's where that violent influx of LinkedIn salesmen comes from, I believe. The truth is a little more nuanced. There are such things as marketing skills, and people certainly need to know the information at a high level before they can dig deeper. After all, that's what this season's been all about, giving you a high level of SEO and how to apply it. However, the way that most people approach it, there are two things wrong, in my opinion. First, many people don't apply what they've learned. And from the other side, many teachers don't bother to challenge the students with practical application. They teach a concept and leave it at that, without explaining how to apply that concept or what to do next. Learning in that way is very transient. The information isn't going to stick in your head if you're not applying it in some practical, useful way. Second, after learning the high-level overview, most people don't bother to dig deeper. Rather than desiring a full and true understanding of the topic, many people just want to get through the course, and they find fulfillment in having completed it. The outcome of these two issues is that there's a lot of people claiming to be experts, but they don't have a lot of knowledge or experience. They may be able to rattle off some buzzwords, but they really can't explain the nitty-gritty of what's going on. In fact, I was up at a conference near Seattle once, and there was a presenter there. If I recall correctly, he was talking about a technical subject, something like the aggregated systems and error detection and analysis. I was very interested in that sort of thing. I enjoy technical discussions when it comes to all sorts of topics, but especially marketing. But I think the best way to describe that presentation was that the presenter seemed to randomly generate buzzwords and then to string them together with technical jargon. And it was absolute nonsense. It sounded like he was reading random selections from a thesaurus. And he had a lot of diagrams and charts in his slide deck. And honestly, half of them were either complete nonsense or completely irrelevant. And the other half, as far as I could tell, were unintelligible. And I know it sounds like I'm probably making fun of this guy pretty bad. In reality, I felt really bad for him, because either he was just way out of his depth and didn't know what he was doing, or he was really quite brilliant, but was having a hard time communicating. Either way, he ended the hour-long presentation in about 30 minutes. Again, probably something I should be grateful for. In closing, he said, "So what are we talking here? What are we talking about here?" And I got really excited, thinking maybe he was now going to bring it all into focus and maybe like recontextualize the whole thing. No, instead, it was just more of the same. I know I've gotten off on a few tangents here. So to echo that poor presenter, let's ask, what are we really talking about here? What we're really talking about is the purpose of marketing. And the purpose of marketing is to share the good that we're doing. That good is usually in the form of products or services that we provide that make people's lives better in some way. As business owners, we are changing the world in some small way, and marketing is our way of sharing that with the world. So going back to SEO, it's really all about attracting the right people to our message. And that's a simple statement, but I want you to think on it because it touches every aspect of your SEO, whether it's the content that you're creating or the citations that you're building, the reputation that you're building and managing. It all goes down to attracting the right people to your message. And of course, part of that on the business side is making sure that your message is true. And that sounds trite to say to make sure it's true. I'm not saying don't lie. That's obvious, I think, for most of us. Don't lie in your business messaging. But it's more than that. It's really digging deep into the heart of your business and what you want to achieve and how you want to serve people. And then speaking truly from that core. I think it's easy to oversimplify our message, or it's easy to, on the flip side, get bogged down in a lot of words. I've seen mission statements that were pages long. Maybe that works for that company, but personally, I don't think that's really appropriate. There's a middle ground where you can be succinct and honest. I think that's what we should aim for in our messaging. We want to express what our products and services are and how those products and services change the lives of the customers that we serve. And that's the message that we want to put out. And we use SEO to attract people to that message. And it's not just any people, it's the right people, the people that would make our best customers. And there's really two parts of that. There's our side of it, which is to attract customers that bring us the most value, customers that don't just buy one or two elements from us, but they buy the whole stack. They're our top spending customers. They're the customers that we spend the most time with. On their side, these are the customers that get the most value from us. They take what we're selling and they're able to apply it in such a way that it has the biggest amount of impact. And both of us benefit, both parties benefit. We benefit because we are able to make a profit on that. We're able to grow our businesses, and the customer benefits because from their end, they're paying a very reasonable fee. Hopefully they're thinking that, or maybe you should reevaluate some things, but they're paying a very reasonable fee and they're getting a lot out of it. And so it's a very much a win-win situation. That's what marketing is. It's about understanding our message and then sharing that message with the right people. So as we're wrapping up season 1 of the MSP Online Marketing Podcast, I really want to, first off, thank you all for your time and attention. I'll be honest, starting something like this out is kind of scary. I mean, do I really have something interesting to say? Are people interested in anything I have to say? Is this really going to be useful, or am I just kind of stroking my ego here? Those are real questions, real considerations. And as much as I try to focus on you and providing meaningful and actionable information for you, it's totally possible that I'm just failing miserably. However, I do have the metrics from each episode and the season as a whole, and they seem to indicate that you guys are actually listening and hopefully benefiting from this. We've had consistent growth for each episode and a steady upward trend for the season. And so whether you've been with us since the first episode, or maybe you're joining us for the first time today, I just want to express my sincere appreciation for you. I hope that you found this podcast useful and that you'll be back with us for season 2. In fact, let's talk about season 2 real quick. I'm still on the fence about what I want to talk about in season 2. I have all the content ready for a season about marketing on Facebook and Instagram. So that is one idea. Another idea I've been bouncing around is a season about content marketing and email marketing. those two topics go together rather nicely, and it's something I find a little bit more interesting than social media. However, I don't have that content really gathered or organized in some kind of useful way right now. I have plenty of notes, but it would take some time to organize that and then break that into topical episodes. And I would like to start season 2 in early 2022. And so with the holiday season coming up, it'll most likely be a matter of time. If I just don't have much time, then I'll probably go with social media marketing on Facebook and Instagram. But if I find that I do have time, then I'll probably put together something else. So I guess you'll just have to wait and see. In the meantime, I may put out a few one-off episodes before season 2 just to hold myself over. It should come as no surprise that I think about marketing a lot. And I'm the type of person that loves learning, and I love teaching what I learn. So it's very possible that I just won't be able to contain myself, and I'll hop on and release an episode about some marketing topic or another. Otherwise, again, I just want to thank you all. And if I don't talk to you all before then, have a very merry holiday season and a happy new year. Until next time.